What's up YouTube? It's your girl Yoga Baby Alo here with a new yoga video. Shout out to all our new subscribers and new viewers here. Welcome to the Yoga Baby Alo channel, and I'm ready and excited to get right into the video. So today I'm going to be teaching you how to move into Bakasana Crow safely. You're going to need a few tools, starting off with a yoga mat, a block, although a block is completely optional, but you will need a small blanket. So go ahead and get those tools and I'll meet you right back here on our mats. Welcome back, y'all. So we're going to start with Bakasana Crow today. How to move into it safely. Something to consider is that Bakasana Crow is an arm balance. So you're basically balancing on your hands and your arms. It's a great way to build up your upper body strength and to begin to utilize and develop your core strength within your yoga postures and your yoga sequences. If you're a beginner, it's a really great beginner arm balancing pose to begin with, and just get a little bit more comfortable with arm balances. Normally you're going to start with your knees more towards the back of the elbows, and then you certainly progress until guiding them all the way up to the backs of the armpits, and that's going to require some more core strength. So today I'm just going to show you some safe ways to get into the posture, starting with the knees on the back of the elbows, and then I will show you if you want to progress further into getting the knees tucked right underneath the armpits. We'll make our way there as well. So first, to start with, when you're making your way into this pose safely, we're just going to check in with our knees and just make sure our knees are nice and warmed up and able to be in this squatted position comfortably. So we just come to the back of your mat. I like to press my heels together and then wing my knees out to the left and right, and then just drop my head and neck down here. And I usually hold for a few rounds of breath, just warming up my knees here, but I also want to take some time to warm up my hip flexors. In Bakasana Crow, your knees are wide, like a perched crow almost. So you want to make sure that your hips and your hip flexors are warmed up and can really withstand this pose. Next thing you always want to consider when moving into Bakasana Crow safely is you want your 5 fingers flat on the earth. Sometimes I see people in the tips of their fingers, and you have to to think that your hands are acting as your feet, so you want to keep them flat and rooted into your mat. Next thing you want to do when you're moving into Bakasana Crow safely, or the third thing, is to trust. Because you're kind of rocking forward and back and lifting through the feet, there is a high chance that you're going to fall on your forehead, which is why we have our little blanket here. So usually you're not going to be able to use a blanket, or you can use a blanket in class, but what if there's a class you're in and the instructor invites you to go into a Bakasana Crow pose and you don't have a blanket? So this is just to help you when you're practicing at home, so you feel a little bit more safe about falling forward if that fear is really kind of destabilizing for you. You can always have a blanket in front of you, but also remember to trust your body. Now we're going to go ahead and start to play with our Bakasana Crow, starting with a kind of an easy variation. So I want you to root your 5 fingers and just keep your knees hugging into the back of the forearms. And you're going to slowly just lift your hips maybe an inch and rock forward and back. Forward and back. Each time I'm coming on the tips of my toes, so I have about 5% of the weight in my big toes. And even sometimes I'm just rocking them up so my feet are lifting. So you're just playing. Main thing you want to consider here is if my elbows are locked out and I'm trying to rock forward, and I'm fairly new to Bakasana Crow, that's going to be fairly difficult for me to come to fly and lift my feet. So keep your forearms bent to start with, just so you create a little shelf for your knees to kind of balance on. From here, I'm going to slowly draw myself forward. I'm going to lift one toe, keep 5% of the weight in the other big toe, and then slowly lift the opposite toe. So notice here that I'm balancing just on my elbows here. Now this is a beginner stance. Ultimately, once you begin to develop the core strength, you'll slowly progress and draw your knees closer and closer and higher up to your armpits, where you can come to that full Bakasana Crow with the forearms completely lengthened out. Now, if hip mobility is an issue for you, you can always do it with your block. So you put your block underneath you and you come to stand on your block. And I come into that little squat again. So my heels are off of the block and the tips of my fingers are on the block. You come to that little squat again. And notice this is helping me get so much more height in my hips. So if you're struggling with hip mobility or you're struggling to get the hips high enough to stick the knees on the back of the forearms, stick a block underneath your foot and that'll give you the extra height. And this makes a really big difference here. So notice that I was able to just perch my knees really easily with the help of that block. It gives me that height. And then I slowly rock myself forward, bring one toe up, one foot up, and then maybe bring the other. So you have a few options there for your Bakasana crow. So let's go ahead and review those 4 main things to keep in mind in order to move into your Bakasana crow safely. First things first, you want to make sure that your knees are nice and warmed up and that your hips are nice and warmed up so that you can get into this pose safely. So you're able to feel lifted in this pose without feeling pain in the hips or the knees. Second thing is you want your 5 fingers rooted and flatted on the earth. Fingers nice and wide as if you were coming into a down dog. If you want to notice or have some reference as to how to do a down dog safely, watch my How to Do a Down Dog Safely video up here. Third thing, trust. Trust and have the help of a blanket in front of you if you're practicing this at home. So trust your body. Let your body lean forward. Try not to run out of the pose. And have a blanket in front of you so you feel a little bit more safe and supported. Fourth thing is to keep a slight bend in the elbows so that you're able to perch your knees on the back of your forearm into your Bakasana crow. Now, I'm going to go ahead and come into my crow pose, keeping all those things in mind and ultimately working to get my knees higher up on my arms. So let's go ahead and try. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this YouTube video about how to get into Bakasana crow safely. I got a new video coming up for you very soon, coming up next Monday. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe, and if you have any comments, please share them below. I look forward to seeing you guys and hearing from you very soon. In the meantime, don't forget to follow your girl on the gram at Yoga by Alo, and I'll see you all very soon.